Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Tech4GOOD. We have chosen this theme as the demographic explosion and the several sustainability challenges impose a new technological leap, which will help to accelerate the transition to a more sustainable world. We have seen that the COVID-19 pandemic has further accentuated this need after that the social confinement has forced almost everyone to stay at home, massively using the digital. At the same time, this breakdown of all the economies and the world economies has revealed a recovery at the environmental level without precedent. Therefore, combining the economic recovery with the sustainability is now a real imperative. And the EU is already also moving in this direction with the European Green New Deal, where technology and research and development play a central role, which aims to transform the EU 27 in a low-carbon economy, prosperous and quality of life by 2050. So today, I think that we have the right guests to speak a little bit or share with us what their companies are doing and how could the social and the environmental sustainability we can have an ally in technology, and how can technology help us make us more human and close to nature. At this crucial moment, when the economic and social activities are starting up again, it is really necessary to reflect on new strategies for the future. So this is the goal of today's webinar of APDC, which is held in partnership with BSCD. And my name is Sandra Almeida. I will be your co-moderator, along with João Meneses, the Secretary General of BSCD. I work as Executive Director at APDC, and I'm really excited to be hosting this session today with João. So before I hand the mic over to João, I have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation and the WebEx platform that I would like to share with you. So first, today's webinar will be available on demand after the live session, and it will be accessible through a link that will be shared on APDC or BSCD websites. We also will send after a thank you newsletter with this information and the links where you can find it the video after. We would like also we'd love to hear from you during today's presentations and talks. And if you have a question for one of our speakers or to all of them, please feel free to send it to the Ask a Question tab at the bottom or the side of the platform. And we'll be answering all the questions at the end, the questions that we could, in the time limit that we have, but we'll be answering it at the end of the session. And last, I would like also to encourage you all, if you could share today's webinar within your social networks. And without any further ado, I would like to kick things off by welcoming our partner, João Meneses. So João, it's up to you now.
Okay, thanks a lot, Sandra, for introducing us in the panel. So my name is João Meneses, as Sandra just said, and I'm the Secretary General of BCSD Portugal. BCSD stands for Business Council for Sustainable Development. The BCSD Portugal is a non-profit company-based association that aggregates around 100 companies, Portuguese companies, which are actively committed in the transition towards a sustainable world. Our mission is to help them basically on their journey towards sustainability. We're also a proud member of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, a member of their global network. So to debate today, and today I remind you is the World Environment Day, Tech4GOOD for us, it's the equivalent to debate Society 5.0. Society 5.0 means taking the disruptive potential of technologies such as artificial intelligence, IoT, blockchain, robots, nanotechnology, biotechnology, taking the power of those technologies beyond productivity and beyond economic gains and using them to trigger sustainable development model. So how we see these technologies is that they can really leverage the transition towards a sustainable development model, which means a development model centered on people and centered on the planet, not just a way to increase productivity and get economic gains, even though those are important, but also a way to gain and improve people's well-being and the planet's well-being in general. So with no further ado, I would like you just to watch a very short video that talks precisely about Tech4Good, or in our own words, Society 5.0, taking the disruptive potential of the fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, a step further towards a sustainable world, which is a Society 5.0. So thanks a lot for attending this panel, and here we go.
The English thinker Malthus argued in his famous essay on the principle of population in 1798 that there was no longer sufficient land in the world to feed a rapidly growing world population, threatening poverty and famine. But an agro-industrial revolution soon transformed the economies of Europe and North America, and his fears proved unfounded. Over the past 10,000 years, the different agricultural and industrial revolutions have given us access to unimaginable levels of wealth and well-being. In the last 100 years alone, average life expectancy has more than doubled. GDP per capita has tripled. Infant mortality and food prices have decreased 10 times. Transportation costs have decreased 100 times, and the cost of communications has decreased 1,000 times. Since 1960, the integrated circuits are 30,000 times faster. Since 1975, the price of solar panels dropped 250 times, and since 2001, the DNA sequencing is 100,000 times cheaper. This was the journey towards the Industrial Revolution 4.0. That gave birth to smart factories through the use of cyber-physical systems. With IoT, big data, nanotechnology, robots, blockchain, drones, 3D printing, biotechnology, and AI as primary drivers, that can also enable a social transformation in medical and healthcare, education, mobility and infrastructure, fintech, food and agriculture, energy and resources, environmental and climate changes. It is true that we still face major challenges. There are still massive asymmetries in the distribution of wealth. The 26 richest people on the planet own as much as the 4 billion poorest people. There are jobs at risk due to technological progress. There are unethical uses of technology. Enormous environmental issues, climate change, deforestation, and the fast loss of biodiversity, waste, and pollution. Major challenges in the functioning of organizations, companies, fair treatment of all those involved in the value chain, higher transparency, and gender equality. Today we talk about sustainability. We designed a society of the future with new possibilities and solutions being created continuously by companies, making people's lives more comfortable and sustainable. We think about the role that technology can play to a more sustainable tomorrow. Today we talk about Society 5.0. We take the disruptive potential of Industry 4.0 a step further. We see the intersection of the virtual, physical, and biological dimensions as an opportunity to a super smart society, human and planet-centered. Today we have the power to carry on the last 100 years of remarkable progress, only this time with a truly sustainable approach, using technology and wealth to help us solve the major challenges we face. At BSCD Portugal, we believe that our future will be super intelligent, super connected and super efficient, but mostly superhuman and super sustainable. Join us as we discuss how to achieve this transformation. Society 5.0, the next revolution.
So, thank you. Are you listening me, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. There was an issue here. So thank you, João. I would like to introduce now today's presenters, speakers that will share their insights and information regarding their companies and the efforts they are doing it. We'll start with Andrea Rubei. Andrea is the responsible for operations and marketing at Microsoft Portugal. And then we'll have Dina Gaspar. She's executive accountant manager at TECH4GOOD Technology. We'll also have from Paris, Oli. I will not say the name. I'm sure that I will not say it right. But Oli, she's the head of global corporate social responsibility from Huawei. And finally, but not least, Lara Campos Tropa, Director of Enterprise Cross and Commercial, and she's also a member of the local board at IBM Portugal. And we'll start with Andrea. So, Andrea, can you?
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, so I'll go ahead and share my content. Good afternoon, everyone. Just give me one moment to...
Yes.
Let me see if it's coming up. Yes. Sandra, can you see the content?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So again, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited and thankful to be here, to have the opportunity to talk about together with the other speakers and with the attendees about sustainability. I'm Andrea Rubei from Microsoft Portugal. In my role, I'm also the executive sponsor of the sustainability plan and team in Portugal. I have to say compliments to João and to BCSD on the video. It's not very easy to put in few minutes, in 3 minutes, so many things. We are talking about sustainability is a very broad matter, and Society 5.0, as the video put it, is a very broad matter with huge ramification. And in 3-4 minutes, it's very difficult to put it there, and there's a lot to talk about. And I'm here today to share with you, what is Microsoft's commitment to this and our attempt to contribute. If we're here listening, we must all agree that we have a planetary challenge in front of us. It's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. It's a challenge that impacts, as the video was saying, every aspect of the environment and every aspect of society. And it is a responsibility for every individual, but for every company, no matter of the size, to actually act upon it. So it is a responsibility of everyone. And here, technology definitely can play a role in accelerating the impact that we can have in working towards a better environment. Therefore, Microsoft has a role to that as a technology provider. We definitely do have a role. We want to put technology to serve the planet. We want to put technology to help everyone everywhere to build a more sustainable future. And we want to put a sustainable technology to help do that. So sustainable and responsible technology. So technology is to serve the planet. Technology is at the center of this change to help enact contributing to this change. Now, I would like with a quick question here, if we can, quick poll for the audience. We might take it for granted because we're here to listen, and so probably we're all in agreement that sustainability is better for business. But I would like to put the question out there to hear from your opinion. Is sustainability an opportunity for business? How do you see it? Well, if we look at some numbers, let's see if the slide goes ahead. The slide is not moving. I don't know if it's because there's the poll up here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, sorry. So while you answer, well, what we've been observing in the US alone is that there's a huge opportunity across several pillars. If we look at energy savings opportunities and investments that will be made by governments, by utilities in energy savings opportunities in the next few years, this alone represents a $60 billion market, $60 billion market in the US alone. If we look at the agriculture as the innovation that can be built in the value chain of the agriculture, again, there's a huge potential in the next few years that we estimate around 12 billion, and all the innovation that technology can drive, both in energy savings as well as agriculture. If we look at the overall economic benefits that can be related to investments in technology to have an impact on the environment, whether it's smart cities, as we were talking about before, artificial intelligence, IoT, investments in new energy sources, etc. It's a staggering 26 trillion. And then if we look at the actual evaluation of the carbon market, the carbon market alone has been growing incredibly fast in the last few years. So there's several opportunities. No matter how we look at this, there are several opportunities for companies, whether they're looking at energy savings, whether they're looking at investing in technology for smart cities, smart buildings, etc. There's a huge opportunity, not only from a saving and an impact on the environment, but also for new business opportunities. Now, what is our approach? Our approach is actually, investing in creating the leading platform, technology platform to drive solutions for environmental challenges. We focus mainly around 4 pillars. The biggest pillar for us, when we look at the way we focus our effort, the biggest pillar for us is our CO2 or carbon footprint, and we'll talk more about that. The water is another very big element, and water management is another very large element because it's strictly related to a lot of industrial processes, and obviously it's the first element of life, and so it's a very key focus for us. The waste and everything that is related to circular economy, it's the third pillar, and then the ecosystem is the fourth pillar. And how do we do that? We're basically working on looking at directly at our operations, and we will see more information about that. The way we have an impact on a direct impact on the environment, on the way we use energy, the way we use water, the way we produce waste, etc. It's all around and center around our operation. The way we design our product surfaces to prefer platform and products that are more environmental friendly. And then there is a whole pillar around working with our customers and partners through technology to enable them along this journey. We are developing partnership with a lot of companies globally to bring this technology opportunity to customers, and we will have a few examples there as well. And then last but not least, policy, being advocates in the US in corporation, but also in the other countries around policies that we need to put in place to achieve our corporate social goals. At the center of it, it's the passion of our employees. You don't need to have sustainability in your job description to have an impact, and we have a lot of examples in the company of employees enlisting in different initiatives that go from tree planting all the way to very innovative new technologies and algorithms to solve specific problems. So a little bit more about, if we look at carbon, which I said is it's a key area where Microsoft has an impact. This is an area where we've been working already for quite a few years. But recently we decided to step change our involvement and our commitment to the environment. And so in January this year, we made a commitment around becoming carbon negative by 2030. This is a very bold statement because it's not. We thought that being carbon neutral is not enough. We want to be carbon negative, and basically we want to get to a point in where we emit less carbon footprint, and we retire it from the environment more than what we were actually putting in the environment. But even more than that, by 2050, we have an even bolder plan to remove all our historical carbon emission from the very beginning of the foundation of Microsoft by 2050. So we are looking at developing technologies ourselves and with our partners to be able to do that, to actually start decreasing and removing the carbon emission from the environment. And for that, we actually made quite a bold investment in the market. It's a 1 billion climate innovation fund that invests in new technology that are very beginning stage, are not commercial yet, where we expect that there could be a relevant return in terms of impact on the environment. And this climate innovation fund is being deployed with technologies of our partners, of startups around the world, to actually allow us to accelerate towards such a bold goal, such as removing all our historical emissions. Then on the ecosystem, which is one of the other 4 elements, we had a program already for a few years called AI for Earth. AI for Earth basically democratizes technology, or artificial intelligence in this case, and gives access to artificial intelligence to researchers around the world, to ONGs and organizations around the world that are focused on resolving environmental problems, whether it's from the ocean, agriculture, all sorts of different earth-related or environment-related problems. But in April this year, so very, very recently, we actually announced the building and deploying of a planetary computer. The name makes it very important. The planetary computer is basically a massive amount of computing power with AI technology behind that to allow basically researchers to have almost limitless technology available to be able to use big data to monitor, model, and manage what's happening in the ecosystem, and to be able to predict changes in the ecosystem, which with the technology power that most of the researchers have available, it would take a very long time. At the same time, we're taking responsibility for our ecosystem. So by 2025, we're committed to protect more land than the one we use with our campuses around the world, which is another very strong commitment. Now, there are, in our journey along these years, we've gathered a few takeaways, and in the second part of my speech, I will give you a bit more of examples. But right now, I would like to basically highlight that there are 5 areas where we got a lot of learnings, and we were able to have already quite a strong impact. 1, migrating to the cloud. Migration to the cloud of our own application, but we see that also with our customer, reduces massively carbon emissions. And we will talk about that if we have the chance later. Then another very important topic is that we've been leveraging a carbon tax to fund innovation. So we've basically been taxing our business units. Well, for every metric ton of carbon emitted, they have to pay, and this tax goes to fund innovation. And then investment in smart building, IoT, and software that helped us to reduce quite a lot of energy consumption. Same thing on smart water usage to help us reduce consumption of water. And last but not least is remote work. Now, remote work, we were already studying this in the last few years, and the impact that it can have on carbon reduction. And little did we know that starting with February and March, we all were forced to actually implement remote working and accelerate. So basically, the learnings and the transformation that we were expecting to happen in a few years, those happen in a few weeks. Because of the acceleration in remote working and the fact that we were all forced, a lot of people were forced in a lockdown and to collaborate remotely. And here there are some very interesting learnings as well. Now, I will stop here and give now the time to Dina, the next presenter, and then in the second part of the speech, if we have time, we can go through some of these examples.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay. Dina, so we will put the presentation for you, isn't it? Your micro is off.
Yes, please.
So,
First, I would like just to do an introduction. Thank you for the opportunity. And I would like to say that at TECH4GOOD, we believe that sustainability must be part of our core values. So, because we think it helps to build the foundation of our business. In that sense, we think that we must have sustainability embedded in our practices and behaviors. So we use it with our employees to build a great place to work, with our clients' experience to provide them the innovation and to help them to accelerate their transformation journey, and also with our community. And as you can, we will pass the video right now, and we developed many initiatives to work with our community to help them to be more sustainable as well. So please, can you pass the video to me?
Sustainability doesn't mean making a promise alone. It means delivering on that promise. It means building a great place to work, a place that is inclusive, diverse, and empowering. It means living and breathing innovation, bringing world-class expertise to today's challenges. It means envisioning a brighter future for everyone. Sustainability means acting with the future in mind. It means opening doors and multiplying opportunities to work, contribute, and create. It means supporting the communities where we live and work, seeing the possibilities for positive change everywhere. Sustainability means caring about tomorrow, today. It's a promise we make, a promise we deliver.
So thank you.
So it was a video of some initiatives initiatives held at the international level, and also with an highlight of the things that you have been doing at TECH4GOOD Portugal.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Part of the video was made in Portugal, wasn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so can we press now to Lara? Yes? No, to Ollie. Ollie, sorry. Now it's Ollie.
No problem. Thank you very much, Sandra, and good afternoon, everyone. So I would like just to share maybe a few slides, not very long, to tell you a little bit more about Huawei's sustainability story. So as you know, we are headquartered in China, and we actually started this sustainability journey for a few years already. So probably one of the first China-based companies that started this journey when we first joined the United Nations Global Compact back in 2004. So of course, since then, a lot has happened. But sustainability has always been at the core of what we are doing in terms, of course, of our expertise, technology, and how we can have an impact on people, the planet, but as well on the economical side. So as today, we're very much going to focus around environmental protection, but as part of our global sustainability strategy, environmental protection is just one part of it, because we're looking at as well at different topics around digital inclusion, for instance, or when we look at trust and trustworthiness around our solutions and technologies, or looking at as well more around the ecosystem to make it more harmonious, especially when we look at the communities where we operate, but as well the overall supply chain. So as you can see, sustainability is a massive topic, a topic that, of course, that we deal with at all levels within the company, from the top management to the middle management to all employees, but as well across all business units and supporting functions. And one thing that probably had helped us a lot into shaping even a bit better our strategy was, of course, the SDGs, because back in 2015, when we had the release of the SDGs, it was actually a great framework for us to kind of reshape a little bit our strategy and make sure that it is aligned, of course, with global challenges and really look at what technology can do to address these challenges. So now back to the topic of today, very specifically around environmental protection. So our motto is really to look at technology, of course, for a better planet. So what has been shared earlier on by Andrea also very resonates with us, having technology for good and how we can leverage the power of technology to address, of course, different challenges, or let's say, for instance, Sustainable Development Goals 13 around climate change, or even around Sustainable Development 9 around infrastructure. So the approach that we have, it's pretty simple. So there are two principles, I would say. First one is about take less. Take less is looking at our impact. What can we do, for instance, through technology innovation around how we can reduce the carbon footprint, how we can reduce the raw material consumption, and all in all we can reduce waste. And that comes with innovation, that comes with collaboration, and that goes as well, of course, around our own operations and what do we do to cascade all these principles across the whole value chain. And then the second principle, I would say, is very much about what can we do more. So now we're talking a lot about technologies, about Industry 4.0. So even WBCSD is already talking about Society 5.0. And I think that very much shows that technology has this power to do more when we deal with, again, innovation, but as well collaboration, and how, in terms of environment, how we can conserve or preserve natural resources, how we can protect endangered species as well, and very importantly, how we can prevent or at least mitigate the risks related to natural disasters. So a lot can be done, but obviously technology alone would not be enough. It's, I would say, a means to an end, and there is a lot of work that we need to do around the whole ecosystem, the partnership, the collaboration, favorable policies, etc. So a little bit more into what we do to really reduce these GHG emissions. So of course, there are like different scopes we need to look at. within our own operations, how we can reduce the direct emissions. And here again, and I think that has been told as well by other panelists, to look at in terms of our own operations, what do we need to do? And I'll just give you an examples around the investment, for instance, that we've been doing around solar panels that actually going to be used to power our manufacturing center and assembly centers back in China, for instance. So some of you may know, but the return of investment of these solar panels are 10 years, where they can last for 20, 25 years. So you can see that definitely by investing in this alternative energy, it actually makes sense from an economic perspective, but at the same time, we can contribute, of course, to improve the environmental protection and the work that we've been doing around that. We can also look at, for instance, purchasing electricity and steam to lower the indirect emissions. And then at the end of the day, I think there is a lot of work that we need to do as a leader in this industry to work with the different stakeholders, the partners within the whole value chain, how we can work together to reduce these indirect emissions within the supply chain, the logistics, or even working with the end users to make sure that we can reduce this GHG emission. And for that, of course, that's probably where we have the most examples all around about technology innovation, where we need to design, for instance, the technology of tomorrow, making sure that they use, of course, less materials, or they use bio-based materials, or they look at green packaging, for instance, but more importantly as well, how we can engage with the direct end users. So as you know, Huawei has been for a very long time a B2B company, so working directly with telecom operators, for instance, and over enterprises. But since 2011, we are also a consumer-facing brand with our smartphone and devices. And this is something that we've been trying to encourage over the past few years, the recycling of phones, so trying to give incentives as well to end users so they can bring back their devices, may they be phones, batteries, laptops, etc. So we can actually take the value out of these devices and really try to build a real circular economy. And I think circular economy is definitely going to be the future. The other speakers already mentioned about the importance of having a kind of a closed loop management. So at the end of the day, technology or e-waste actually is not going to be seen as a waste anymore, but has a new resources. So that's how as well through this innovation and collaboration, we can definitely make a change. And of course, it's going to be one step at a time, but if we all go together, having the same, I would say, spirit and tackling this global challenge together, of course, the change will be faster. So maybe just a tiny example of what on the part where we can do more. So talking about how technology as it is today could help actually preserve the nature, our environment. And this is an example that we have been doing with the Rainforest Connection, for instance, where we've been using artificial intelligence, for instance, to protect the fauna and the flora within the rainforest themselves. So when we look at technology and looking at how we can preserve, the natural resources, how we can protect endangered species, here we're looking at, for instance, technology that can support data sensing, how we can monitor, of course, this the fauna and the flora, how we can talk about transmission as well, for instance, in terms of platforms, in terms of reporting, how we can look at storage, and here we're looking at more at data management because we need to look at what's happening, what's the progress, what kind of initiatives we need to be taking. And of course, very importantly, it's about the artificial intelligence analysis. And here, for instance, we can look at some AI-based species identification, and that's very important when we look at the rainforest today and what kind of species we need to, of course, support. So this program is actually part of an initiative that we launched last year called Tech4All, and that is very much around digital inclusion, leaving no one behind, and that would include as well a part on environment. So I would stop here. It was just to, I would say, give a glimpse of what we've been doing, and very happy to continue the conversation later on. So give the floor to Lara now from IBM.
Okay, thanks, you. Thanks, Ollie. Can I share? Okay, great. Let me share first the presentation. Okay. Hello, good afternoon. First of all, let me thank APDC and BCSD for this invitation to participate in this webcast webinar, and congratulate them for the topic chosen, because this really encounters a huge opportunity we have in our hands. I couldn't agree more with the video from BCSD that was chosen earlier, because it really resonates with all that we believe in. Since the very beginning of IBM, I mean 109 years ago, corporate social responsibility has been part of our core business, has been part of our core principles and strategies. Our main purpose has been and remains as being essential to the world, and we use technology and expertise to solve problems. This is not an afterthought. It's really embedded in everything that we do. So we collaborate and engage with communities, clients, governments, shareholders, employees, and the whole social sector on environmental issues, social, governance, etc. First, we start by considering the needs of our shareholders when making the business decisions. Then we put smart to work. And we put smart to work for good, bringing the best in talent and technology to positively impact individuals, communities, and the world. And we invest in innovative solutions for the different areas of our lives, being, just like I said, environment, healthcare, education. So we make advancements in technology like artificial intelligence, cloud, blockchain, IoT. They are really changing the world for good. We believe that we can only reap the benefits out of our investments if we can live and breathe these principles and have them in mind. This is what good tech IBM means. And of course, by doing so, IBMers around the world feel highly motivated because they really feel that they contribute to a meaningful, to something that will really benefit their communities. Now, considering the impact of the actual context we are all living caused by the pandemic situation, I would like to stop and launch a poll. I think you will be seeing it in your screens in a few seconds. So the poll and the question is, the actual context we are all living caused by COVID-19 will accelerate what would have happened anyway regarding undergoing business digital transformation, most specifically taking into consideration this positive circle between tech, business, and sustainability. And while you enter, let me proceed by sharing with you a few actions that we have been taking around the world. Inevitably, when we're living all this thing about the COVID-19 situation, IBM has once again had to be ready and adapt and act very rapidly to address the challenges of all our shareholders. So first, IBM co-founded the COVID High Performance Computing Consortium. This is a unique private-public effort that brings together 40 members, including federal government, industry, and academia, to accelerate research into all possible means fighting the disease caused by coronavirus. 2 months after the consortium was created, there are already positive results from this collaborative effort. The group is tackling 59 projects, all aimed at modeling the virus and potential drugs. One of these projects is coming out of Portugal from the University of Porto, which really makes us all very, very proud. We also recognize the urgency to act in different areas and programs that we already had in place. So, for example, Call for Code. This is a program which addresses some of the world's most significant issues. It's a multi-year global initiative that brings together developers and the greater technical ecosystem, giving access to open source. And they can build open source solutions. And this year, the motto was actually climate change. But with the COVID-19, we had to create an accelerated timeline to fight this virus with the call for code track. We have already initial solutions that are now receiving deployment support. They show how technology can help, for example, small businesses find assistance after a crisis like this. But to mark today's celebration, we're actually doing something. To celebrate World Environment Day, the IBM Call for Code initiative has invited IBMers, developers, and non-developers alike to virtually collaborate and innovate online to address water sustainability. So speaking of other technologies and challenges like blockchain, IBM has launched Plastic Bank, which is helping more than 1 billion people in areas of high poverty and high plastic pollution transform their lives. We are using a solution to collect and trade plastic waste for the items they need the most. And looking ahead in the future, IBM believes that in 5 years' time, the disposal of trash and the creation of new plastics will be completely transformed. Everything from milk cartons and cookie containers to grocery bags and clothing will be recyclable. Blockchain will also prevent more food from going to waste. Within 5 years as well, we believe we will be able to eliminate many of the costly unknowns in the food supply chain. From farmers to grocery suppliers, each participant in the food ecosystem will know exactly how much to plant, order, and ship. Food loss will diminish greatly. And also from a client perspective, our clients we're facing all this disruption throughout this crisis. We understood with them that they needed to interact with their clients and users and shareholders and citizens in a different way. So we started with what we already had, the Watson Assistant. This was a spectacular technology already available to our clients, and they were already transforming a few parts of the business based on this technology. So we took it, and in the face of COVID-19, we acted upon it, and we trained several models based on data already available publicly, and we built the Watson Assistant for citizens to support citizens in more than 196 countries, organizations, institutions around the world. And what we made us more proud of is that in some cases, we were able to put it up together in 24 hours. And in Portugal, we are already doing this with few clients. And while businesses around the globe, like the ones enabling us manage our banking accounts digitally, place orders online, providing the network capacity to support our grocery delivery apps, we're struggling on how to manage unexpected capacity, productivity, security issues. IBM has been scaling up capacity in our public cloud, so they continue their operations smoothly. So that's why this also brought an opportunity to accelerate their digital transformation with positive impact in our environment. So let me pause again and see the poll results. I don't know if I can watch the poll results, and I know if somebody can send it to me.
Yes. We only have 36 answers from the 84 or 85 participants.
Okay.
And the majority, 72%, said A, yes, the most, is the first option, I cannot read. The most companies will pay more attention to sustainability as the benefit to business strategy and goals.
Great, yes. I truly believe in that. And I just wanted to finish with that. I truly think that what we are living these days will really indeed accelerate what would have happened in any case. It will only accelerate. And specifically, I do believe it's going to be for the better, for this positive circle between tech, business, and sustainability. So I will be happy to discuss a little bit more further down in our panel. But as we've only had 5 minutes, so I will give the floor to others.
Thank you. Andrea, do you want to add on something more? Are you listening me?
Sure. So I wanted, let me go back to, if I can share content.
Yes, you have it already.
Right.
Can I put your video?
No, there's no need.
Okay.
No worries. So basically, we were saying, I left you here, and well, first of all, I'm happy to say that everyone agrees. The majority of the people, actually, the vast majority of the people agree that this is a business opportunity. Sustainability is not like very often we used to look at it in the past as a risk management, compliance management approach, but it's really a business opportunity. And we're not only looking at caring for our planet and our people, but it's a true business opportunity. Now, I spoke about these five pillars here. I wanted to share a bit more with you, a bit more details. These are practical steps in general where technology can have an immediate impact. Now, we've looked at our own migration of 2,000 applications from on-premise to the cloud, and we've studied this also with our customers. There are huge efficiencies in terms of looking at the carbon footprint of an on-premise application versus an application that is running on the cloud. I mean, you can see the numbers here are really, really staggering. So we help customers looking at whether they're moving their collaboration to the cloud, or whether they're moving some of their line of business applications or front-end application to the cloud. The savings that can be done are incredible. And there are ways to monitor that, actually. There are ways to really simulate and monitor with a dashboard very quickly in real time what is actually the saving that you're having as you are migrating things into the cloud. These are due, obviously, to some economies of scale, some newer and leading-edge technology that is being used in the cloud versus technologies that are more dated. So that's definitely an area where companies can already look at. Then the next step is, remote work. Remote work, and this, has increased, as I said, incredibly over the last few weeks and months. There are some staggering numbers here. You can see here some of the projections over the Seattle area, the Puget Sound area, where we have our headquarters. The actual carbon emissions, as you see the difference, same month, year over year, the difference is staggering. And if you run the same satellite image across most of the countries, you can see the same. So the point here is that how do we not go back to where we were before, and how do we put in place policies and all the facilitations to allow people to leverage more the remote work, to leverage more to reduce commuting. There are some numbers that are staggering. Eliminating one commute per week for a year. If you do it regularly for a year, it nets as much carbon as planting 10 trees, and this is just one day per week. Flying from New York to Paris, if it can be avoided, it emits as much heating as an entire household emits in a year. So there are obviously relooking at the remote working policy is another very practical step that can be put in place. Again, cloud and remote working together double the effect. These are two very Microsoft-centered experiences, but then we can look at things that are being implemented with our customers around the world. And we'll provide a couple of examples just to give you an idea. And here's where we come in with our technology and with our partners to really help other businesses to become more sustainable. So H&M, I'm sure everybody knows H&M. H&M, one of the many initiatives that they're working on is around waste. There is a lot of waste around the clothing that was not being recycled. And here the solution, managing IoT, some artificial intelligence, and some marketing algorithm. Basically, it's a very simple solution. They have been implementing in several stores a smart recycling bin, where actually customers can recycle their the clothing that they do not need anymore, and the impact on the circular economy and the amount of waste that was produced is it's enormous. And at the same time, these are smart screens where customers are getting tailored offers for them as they recycle. And so we, on one side, H&M learns more about the behaviors of the customer. On the other side, the customers are incentivized to recycle more, and as they get more tailored offers. Unilever, in many different areas, have been investing in IoT technology, especially centered around water usage. Here is the Dove division that has been leveraging machine learning and IoT to really reduce water usage. As you can imagine, it's quite critical and significant in their business. And then First Solar is one of the biggest producers of solar panels. While solar panels are actually contributing to renewable energy, and they are the ones that are actually bringing us a lot of renewable energy, solar panels themselves in their manufacturing are not necessarily sustainable unless the whole cycle of manufacturing leverages sustainable practices. And again, here they have been using IoT and collaboration to be able to make efficiencies along the manufacturing chain to reduce the impact on the environment. And then, working with partners like Ecolab in water management, that they are one of the biggest providers on of water solutions, and even for our data centers, Buller in agriculture, and Accenture in helping us deliver solutions to our customers. So the last thing that I would like to say is that maybe very practical next steps. And as we said, sustainability is not just about reducing your impact on carbon or waste management and water, but there are areas where you can start, and we can help understanding the current carbon footprint across the different operations, supply chain, and product life cycle. You can start looking how you can directly reduce your emission, leveraging the cloud, and then at the same time, we can help with our ecosystem of partners to accelerate progress, innovation, and look at what are the business opportunities that can come out of looking at a more sustainable approach to the business itself. And with this, I'm happy to give the stage back to Dina.
Yes, so thank you for that final message, that small steps, one at a time.
Absolutely.
With everyone. So, Dina, do you want to add something?
Yes. Well, indeed, we are doing almost the same as other panel colleagues, because we are helping our customers to transform their businesses. And we are also using technology to transform our business as well, in everything we do, because we think we should take the lead, and we should harness digital innovation to help in many areas like healthcare and life sciences, to provide our clients better care in terms of health, and as well in helping with the solutions that are more energy efficient, either in the sector, in the automobile sector, either in other industries. And we believe that by creating an inclusive and ethical environment, we can attract people, and we can transform the way how we work and how we live. So we believe that staying involved in our communities, we can as well help them in learning, providing some more instruction and fighting the poverty, as well as meet the aggressive goals we have in terms of carbon reduction. So we in everything we do, so can you pass my slides? Yeah. In everything we do, we think our strategy in terms of corporate responsibility must include all sectors. Our client experience by helping them with innovative ideas, with bringing them what can help them to bring efficiency, to fight the waste, or even to gain agility in their businesses, in the community by fostering the literacy and help them with education, fighting the child hunger and poverty, or by working with our employees, providing them a great place to work, opening doors for innovation and for new ideas that we can use and put at the service of our clients. And in terms of environment, obviously we are as well revising our operations and try to make them more efficient, more healthier in terms of environment. So can you pass my slides down? Sorry. So let me share with you some of the achievements we've been doing with our clients. For example, in the health public sector in the United States, we work with we provide services that helps people in the healthcare by providing them good treatments and we can address more than 47 million people. In what concerns the wearable digital diabetes coach, we did a project for the national system in UK to help them to create an infrastructure to deliver mobile health for self-management tools to have information related with the diabetes. And we are using as well in artificial intelligence with the BMW to analyze some data and train some algorithms to develop autonomous vehicles. So there are many areas where the DXC is contributing to provide, to transform business and to contribute for a healthier planet, a more sustainable and with more sustainable environment. Going further, we believe that with the right, can you go down? Sorry, I cannot move my slides down. Yeah, we believe that by using technology, we can, for instance, with IoT, we think we can gather data and provide insights to that data that will help take better decisions because we can humanize. For example, if we can use IoT to gather information from our wearable devices, we can get information that means something, and we can activate and actionate some alarms or take decisions that can provide better products or can provide better service to that people. So we believe that by using technology, rather automation or IoT, we will help in the terms of efficiency and fight the waste, and in that way contribute for a more sustainable environment. So combining technology with sustainability, we believe that we can take some of the issues we have today to fight either poverty, food and water security, and climate changes. So we can embrace innovation to treat this disruption as an advantage and not an handicap. That's what we truly believe that we can do, and we see that technology and this is an opportunity to create new business and new ways of life. So thank you.
Thank you, Dina. I will just recall all the participants, the attendees, that we would like to hear from you during today's presentation. If you have a question, please use the Ask a Question. Perguntas e respostas in Portuguese for some of you that have the WebEx in Portuguese. We already have here 2 questions, but I will pass the word to Ollie to see.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. I think I will just comment basically on what Andrea and Dina have shared previously. I think I heard a lot of things that they've been sharing pretty much resonate with us, because we're looking at the same type of technologies, obviously, in addition to us providing the connectivity. I think I heard a lot the word innovation, and I definitely agree with Lara when she mentioned about how this COVID era actually accelerated this digital transformation. So we've been mentioning about how we change our positioning regarding to work right now, looking at more like online and remote work as well. But there are also different habits, and I think that we need to do in different sectors that we needed to accelerate, because basically we had no choice and we had to react fast. And for instance, in the healthcare sector, we saw that the use of 5G technology, for instance, has been helping a lot in terms of accurate monitoring in public areas, or the data sharing and connectivity and collaboration among hospitals, but also the remote diagnosis being more accurate, faster as well, so we can treat as many patients as possible. But that probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't have this crisis. So indeed, the transformation was extremely fast, but technology is already there. And I think the adoption of technology has been extremely accelerated with the current situation. So we can see as well that probably there's a better acceptance of what technology can do for good. And that is definitely one of the lessons, and probably a bright of light that we can see out of this crisis that we're looking at. But I think we need to go beyond, and I think this webinar is very much on a timely manner, because we've been talking a lot about this health crisis, but we need to look at the climate change crisis, because it hasn't disappeared. So we need to project what is going to happen by 2030, 10 years to really make a change. So that's why, and actually the other speakers already talked about this, we need to rely on the power of collaboration, because of course, Microsoft is doing great, DCX is doing great, we have also IBM doing great things, but doing things separately that actually really target the audience nor the reach of the initiatives of the challenges that we need to look at, because these are massive and global challenges. So I really like very much when Andrea mentioned about working with the ecosystem, and that definitely resonates with Huawei, because that's what we've been doing, especially looking at environmental protection. So, for instance, I mentioned the work that we've been doing around circular economy, but actually it's very much like having one common voice, really looking together, building basically a coalition to tackle this issue and say, well, what can we bring onto the table? And that's why we've been working with the World Economic Forum, with the World Resources Institute, with actually World Business Council for Sustainable Development based in Geneva, with the International Telecommunication Union, with GSMA, etc. So we can all bring all these forces together, all the resources together, so we can really find a solution and put the expertise to really make the change happen. So I think if I have to sum up basically the conversation that I've been hearing from now around innovation and collaboration, these are probably the key things that we need to look at if we want to successfully address the SDGs by 2030, and why not, being carbon neutral by 2050.
Thank you, Ollie. Lara, final comment?
Okay, fine. Yes, a very final comment. Let me pick up from what Holly was just sharing. That's actually why, in one very important area, which is AI, all these companies came together and signed up an ethical statement, a compromise. So we're talking about IBM, Microsoft, Google, and the likes, and that had signed this ethical compromise to not go beyond what is, that respects the human being. So I think that we should be doing, of course, this and more and go beyond. But indeed, it's a very, very important collaboration between all of us. And I wanted to share a few more investments that we're doing in this area because I didn't have the time to do it in the first place. We are heavily investing in technologies that are not only AI, IoT, cloud, but that also are nanotechnology and quantum computing. And when we talk about nanotechnology, there's a tremendous potential that can improve water filtration technology, make seawater desalination much more efficient and affordable, and it may even shed light on how drugs pass through the tiny channels in human cell walls. And with quantum computing, I mean, I think we've been having a very, very, very tough road with quantum computing. It's a completely new world, but we have been tackling a lot with quantum computing, and it's starting to come to light a lot that we can do and a lot that can open the door, like to electric car makers developing longer life batteries. Biotech startups could rapidly develop drugs tailored to an individual patient. Imagine, the cost of electric power transmission could be reduced. Fertilizers could be manufactured more efficiently with exciting implications for growing with the world's food that is needed. And this is so much powerful, of course, when we come together. And that's why World Community Grid, which is a platform that we are also contributing to, and that everybody can contribute with their PC. It's also tackling this world issues. And right now, it's also in the front of fighting COVID-19. But if you put your power to work in World Community Grid while you're not working and using your PC, that can contribute to the huge grid to support scientists around the world that are working in this most pressing health issues like cancer, AIDS, clean water, among so many others. So I would really urge you to go to World Community Grid and also contribute and feel part of this so powerful tool. And I could go on and provide more examples, but for the sake of time, Sandra, want to really reinforce this few ideas.
Yes, I really feel overwhelmed by the amount of potential of the technology and all the solutions that have been worked and that you have shared. We really know that every way a tool can be used to advance the common good, the same methodology can often also be used for menace. So a hammer can both be used to cause harm or to build a house. But I think that if we want to advance into the future, we need to reimagine the problems that could both be created and solved by technology. So this is really the aim of the objective of this talk that we have today, to share the kind of initiatives and that different companies, different technology companies, because all of you are different, have been doing. And Well, I already have asked João to give me help with the discussion now, but we know that we have already some questions here. I've seen at least two. One is related with the cloud. If cloud is really environmentally friendly, if it does not generate high energy consumption. And the second one, I'll put it just now, and then we'll see it. It's for Huawei. Concerns, I don't know if you can see it, Holly, here, the questions that are by the side. Concerns of a huge potential surge in e-waste and energy demand could dampen excitement during the rollout of 5G. Can 5G really be sustainable? So can we start with the cloud, maybe with Andrea, and then...
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, every technology progress that we see, it comes with an energy consumption. So there's no such thing as a technology that doesn't use any energy. Well, the point here is that we need to look at efficiencies. We need to look at scale. And, we are on a path to use more and more technology. It's already embedded in our lives everywhere, and it will be more and more so in the future. So it's the responsibility of all the cloud providers or everyone who's producing this technology to make sure that it's as environmental friendly as possible. Now, the reference that I was making is that there's a lot of old technology out there on which we can act upon. And by moving it to the cloud, we can make already a huge step forward in terms of efficiency. So as we get rid of the older technology, it's the same thing as cars. Old cars were consuming and emitting a lot more than the newers, and now the hybrid and then the electric, etc. But even the electric cars, they use energy in the end. They are more environmental friendly, but they use energy. So the idea here is a practical step to move on-premise old technology to the cloud, and on the other side, a commitment from the technology and the cloud providers to use renewable energy. And the commitment from Microsoft is to actually not only be carbon neutral, but to be carbon negative. So and all the cloud providers are working along that direction. But there's no hiding that that technology is just increasing at an incredible pace, and the amount of data that we produce and then we use and consume is an opportunity for us, but it's also something that we need to be aware in terms of the way we are actually using technology for an impact on the environment.
Yeah, but I think it was the point, as you've shown the slides, maybe it was the question, the question was raised because of it. And yes. Ollie, do you want to go through now with the question that was made?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned, indeed, 5G is the latest technology. And, to make this happen, there's huge effort in terms of innovation and also investment in R&D. So a company like Huawei, for instance, puts around 10 to 15% of our annual revenues into R&D. And of course, a part of the latest technology that we develop needs to pay strong attention to environmentally friendly approach in the services. So very much looking at 5G, for instance, in terms of consumption, it's actually going to be 30% lower than any other base station today. And that is made happen just because in terms of the equipment itself, how it has been designed. So we've been a circular economy kind of approach. Of course, when we do create any technology, we need to start by the design and make sure that the materials, the logistics, and the packaging, and everything that will be within the life cycle of a product will actually be environmentally friendly. So that has been very helpful in making sure that this is a green technology. The second thing is about the site where we put actually the base station themselves. So really being thought to make sure that we take less space and we use less energy as well to power this base station. And last but not least is, of course, about the battery themselves to make sure that we have an energy saving mode that is more efficient, more accurate as well, to make sure that we reduce actually the emissions and the power consumptions of this technology. So indeed, that's going to be a green technology. Of course, the data, we need to make sure that we are aligned with the SDGs and also within the quality of the equipment that is also compliant with the different standards.
Okay, Oli, thank you. João, can you give us a help now on the debate with the environmental concerns and the issues that you've been going through at BCSD?
Yes, of course, Sandra, and thanks a lot. I mean, we're really approaching the end, so we're like 10 minutes away from the end, so I'll be very quick. I'll just bundle and summarize my 3 questions. And thanks a lot for the interventions of the 4 panelists. They're very inspiring. And I'm very glad to confirm that sustainability is no longer just a matter of CSR, of corporate social responsibility, but it's becoming a business, a different way of doing business. And that's a huge progress. The business of business is no longer doing business as usual. And that's a huge shift beyond corporate social responsibility, touching the core, the value chains, the strategy, the values, the culture of the organizations. That's really a transformational journey and something that is completely new in the way we approach the planet and the people, etc. As a business, not as a nice to have. So, but regarding the 3 questions, the first of them is, I mean, I'm sure you're all aware of the idea of the 3 scopes regarding the emissions of greenhouse gases. So scope 1 emissions are direct emissions from owned or controlled sources. Scope 2 emissions are indirect emissions from the generation of purchased energy. And the scope 3 emissions are all indirect emissions, not included in the second one, that occur in the value chain, across the value chain of the company, including both upstream and downstream emissions. So Holly Huawei mentioned that they are doing an effort to reduce scope 3 emissions, and that's very bold, which, as we know, can be very challenging because you don't really control your providers. You don't really control your upstream and downstream emissions. First question is, how are other companies here represented tackling this issue of circularity beyond their borders? So I don't really have a specific recipient for the question among the guest speakers. I'm just posing them, and then you could just pick one if you feel like. So the first one is, how do you manage upstream and downstream circularity, either emissions or other issues such as water, waste, etc. The second question is, I'm sure you're aware that this is a huge year this year for nature and biodiversity. This is International Year of Biodiversity. So in what regards to natural resources, natural capital, half of the world's GDP is based on nature, half of the world's GDP. My question is, companies have already incorporated the idea, the importance of reducing their carbon footprint, of saving water, saving energy, etc., and that's mainstream already somehow, at least in large companies. But nature and biodiversity is lagging a bit behind. So, and there's of course many relations between all these issues, but nature itself is laying a bit behind, and it's, as I said, half of the world's GDP depends on natural resources. Last year we consumed more than 100 million tons of natural resources. That's of course not sustainable. What are you doing in order to tackle this issue, nature and biodiversity? For instance, specific question, do you agree that the price tag of a product should come along with its ecological and social footprint? Meaning that when you buy a product, every kind of product, you should have along with a price tag its carbon and water and energy usage, its ecological footprint, side by side also with its social footprint, in the sense that is it paying the right price for the raw material providers, etc. So price has a way, the carbon footprint and social footprint has a way, side by side with price, to tackle this issue of nature consumption, and so that you as consumers could have the choice, not just based on price, but also based on natural resources consumption. And final question is, I mean, as you know, I'm a believer in technology, in Society 5.0, but of course we discussed many negative impacts, for instance, in mental health and in the development of children related with and there's many concerns related with technology. And of course we discuss the power of technology, in what regards to, for instance, fake news, threatening democracies. So in these negative areas, for instance, childhood growth, mental health, fake news, privacy-related issues, what are you doing? Because we didn't have really the chance to approach those issues. We focused more on the environment, on the planet, and less on the social side of it. But so please, I know it's a lot. We're 7 minutes away from the end, but this is a bit what I would like to hear from you very, very briefly, of course.
Okay. João, I would like to answer the food one. Actually, something that we are already working on with technologies like blockchain. That's going to be possible. And one of the things that I truly believe is that the generations to come, starting with our own, we no more comes. I think we're no more buy only for price. We don't buy only without wanting to know a little bit more from where the products that we buy are coming from. So with blockchain, it's nowadays already possible to track and to have a totally transparent way of how to tag that product from the farm to when you buy it, or from where it's built and created to when you buy it, and where it comes from, if it's recycled, if it's not recycled, all that information probably, and I believe in that, I'm optimistic that it's going to impact the way most of the new generations will consume and will deal with the buying process. And so nowadays it's already possible. We're doing that with a few clients already. Putting blockchain, which is deployed among all its ecosystem, and that's why it's possible.
Okay. And making a consumption a force for good, allowing the consumer to use
exactly. And just like the plastic waste, just like the plastic waste, if you can control it, if you have a whole chain very transparent where you know exactly what's been used, how can be recycled, and how can it be transformed to certain needs that it's going to be used again, then you lower that impact in the environment for sure.
Okay, citizenship through consumption.
Yeah. João, I wanted to answer on the big challenge on the different scopes of emission. It's definitely when we look at the picture. For example, Microsoft has made an estimate that this year will consume something around 60 million metric tons of carbon. Will emit. Sorry, it's a staggering number. And of these 60 million, 12 million tons fall into scope 3. So the majority is actually scope 3, which is the further away from us. It's not the one that we directly control. And we have been working on being carbon neutral since 2012. But like many other companies, the carbon neutrality was primarily coming from investing in offsets to avoid emissions. But now, the scope is really to try and go back and shift the focus on removing, and it's about understanding the whole scope of the emission, and understanding what are the different ways that we can actually not just be neutral but start removing what we are emitting, and hence the huge challenge that we are facing all together, and that's why the investment on the carbon on the sustainability fund. On the pricing, I completely agree that there are ways to have a price tag, to look at more sustainable products with different price tag, etc. As I was saying, internally in terms of pricing, we've been increasing the internal price tag to carbon emission to $15 per metric ton. So all the business units in Microsoft have to pay a tax for every, and this has been increased to $15 per metric ton of every metric ton that they emit. And with this, we channel and we fuel innovation that hopefully will take us to to be able to remove those scope 3 emissions. So definitely putting different price tags on it's definitely important area. Then, you know, on the environment, the last thing I want to say, there's a very important aspect when we look at the environment. You know, we need to look at cities, and that opens a whole new chapter. You know, the cities only take up to less than 3% of the surface of the earth, but they are responsible for 80% of the GDP and 80% of the energy consumption and 75% of the carbon emissions. So what's happening in the cities, what the expectations of the citizens, the hyper-connected cities, the data that is produced and consumed, the waste that is produced, etc. Those are, again, aspects where with technology we can act upon, but it's, you know, cities are a very small thing, but are responsible for a lot of the impact on the environment, the energy consumption, etc.
I will just make a short comment maybe around the risks around the technology. So, of course, this is an extremely valid question, and it's hard probably to answer it in just one answer. One thing that I wanted to share is the work that we've been doing around raising the awareness around a responsible use of technology. And I think that is important. Who should be the owner of this? I think that is a big question. But Huawei has started to launch this program called Smart Bus, which is basically a mobile classroom going from cities to cities and working with different schools, but as well parents, to talk to them about there are some risks related to going on the internet. Kids needs to be aware of them. So we need to look at maybe cyberbullying, for instance, access to violent websites, for instance. So, of course, there are already measures that put into place by internet providers, for instance, but maybe the parents or the schools, they don't know about it. So this is, I would say, one initiative among others that we need to do to really have this frank conversation with our end users, with this population that could be fragile and easy maybe to target. So we've been doing that actually as well in Portugal, in Spain, and in other countries as well in Europe. It has been stopped, unfortunately, due to the current situation. But again, I think the purpose I wanted to share here is that, yes, raising awareness about the risk around being connected is very important, so everybody can understand what would be the correct and responsible use of technology, and make sure that there are indeed rules, and we need to protect our children, any vulnerable communities around that.
IBM, would you like to close the loop? No, I mean DCCs. I mean,
sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dina.
So I just would like to say that indeed we all have to take our own responsibility to look through the use of technology, and maybe we have to pay a higher price to be more responsible with our environment, of course, and technology can help us on that.
Okay, that's a very promising, and companies available to pay more to protect planet and people. That's really a statement, an important and bold statement. Not just investing on ID and innovation and development, but also being aware that there are certain services of the ecosystem and certain natural resources that we better pay for them to fasten the pace towards sustainability, because that will really incentivize the transition towards a more sustainable development goal. Economics, the economists believe on, as you know, fiscal policy incentives, and so if you pay for the ecosystem services that we do depend on and the natural resources, then of course you will be more willing to invest on innovation and new technologies to fasten the pace towards something else, something more sustainable. Sorry, Lara, I just took the floor from you.
No problem. I mean, I could go on and on. So it's, but I guess that we are already, we are already very, very on top of our timing. If for sure, from an education perspective, I think all of us in this event, that we try to do the same. Really involving the community, the students, and having this volunteering work close to them to deliver, and talk about what it's more important, prominent, like cybersecurity and all the things that we know that are, in their behavior to pay attention when dealing with technology. But no doubt, just like you said, João, there's no turning back. And just like Andrea was saying, technology is here to come. No matter what, the human being is not going to, to just quit from using technology. And that's why we need to put it, to build it for the good. We have to find ways to make our microchips even smaller, to have, to have more space for our information, for our data. We have to find ways to produce less, or more with less. And really have our children, which are the future decision makers, the ones that are going to choose to look into those technologies in the best way possible to make a better world.
And that's why my final take for those listening to us, the audience, is please copy with pride all these ideas. I'm sure you'll agree with me, the panelists.
Yes.
Back to you, Help.
Thank you very much. We have already passed our time, so we have to finish. And thank you for the lessons and for the immense topics covered, which shows really the complexity of the team that we were speaking today. And we could have different approaches, since the taxation to all the impacts of different technologies for sustainability. And so we have seen that we could continue on talking about passing through one team to another one. So, and I would like also to thank BCSD and João for this partnership to organizing this webinar on this special day, and also to our sponsors of APDC that allows us to organize this kind of initiative. All speakers from today are our sponsors, so I would like to thank you also, and to the people from and also the support from Axians and Cisco, which are helping us with this platform and allowing us to organize this kind of webinars. So thank you very much. Wishing you a nice weekend, and see you soon. Thank you.
Has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.